Alrighty, everyone. So we are going to go ahead and get things started. Thank you so much for bearing with us, and thank you for coming in and spending your time with us. These events are truly special because you come and you choose to spend your time, whether it's virtually or in person, and really make this something special. So thank you for that. Today we are going to be going over our Caring Collective Town Hall. We're going to be talking about things related to the brand change, what you can expect, what can be expected to continue, and it'll be a great chance to get your questions answered as well. We're going to be going into a little bit of the detail of what happened with the brand change as well, so it'll be a really great time. We, of course, cannot be doing any of this without our wonderful sponsors with Bold Host Community Foundation, so thank you so much to them. And I'm going to let things get taken away in just a moment, but first things first, we are going to get started with a little video. So
before you do that, welcome everybody. Just really quickly, write down your questions throughout the whole program. And if you're on Zoom, please put your questions in the chat because we will have a Q&A period right at the end as well.
Absolutely.
So welcome everyone. We are so thrilled that you are here, and in person and on Zoom, we have about 50 people listening in. So we, as Connor said, we are so thrilled that you are taking the time, and we're going to go about probably, 40 minutes or so, and then there'll be plenty of time for Q&A at the end. So again, please write down your questions. People on Zoom, write down your questions or put them in the chat, and then we'll go from there. And I have to say, I'm Karen Zeldin. I'm the Chief Development and Marketing Officer here at Caring Collective, and personally, how often do you get to ask your boss a series of questions for 45 minutes that she actually has to answer? So this is a fun, really fun day for me, I have to tell you. So
hang on, I had the list of questions, so no veering.
Let's see, I might just add a few in. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. But before we do, does anyone have any preliminary questions in the room that we can answer?
Awesome.
Very good. So Charlene, to kick us off, for those either in the room or on Zoom that may not be as familiar with Caring Collective, can you share just a little bit about our organization and purpose? Why do we exist?
Sure. So, we've been here for 35 years. And as, I mentioned in the video, Kay had a vision, but it was twofold. It was, how do we help people in one location so that it's easier for them to receive services? And then how do we help nonprofits to make it easier for them to operate and to be in existence? And those were her two key tenets about this organization. And then she went to the Alex and Betty Schoenbaum, and the story goes that there was a lot of back and forth. Alex Schoenbaum was a very shrewd businessman. I don't know if anybody recognizes the name, but he was Shoney's Restaurants. For all of the young folks in the in the audience today, that's probably right over your head. But Shoney's was big, and Alex and Betty Schoenbaum were the founders of those restaurants. So he was shrewd, and there was a lot of back and forth. But Kay finally wore them down, and they became partners, and from the very beginning for this campus. And so that's where we started, and we've evolved over the years by bringing in certain services, certain programs. But our core has always been, how do we bring people together? How do we help more than just nonprofits? How do we help who they're helping as well?
Great. So, as we've talked about, Glasser Schoenbaum has provided services and impact on our campus and in our community for 35 years. Changing a name and evolving a brand takes effort, time, and money. Deciding to do it and then doing it well with clear communication matters, so that we're clear, so that people understand why we are making the change and what they can expect. So to get that conversation started, Charlene, why did the board and you believe that the time had come to at least explore this?
We brought in somebody that we were working with to do some key stakeholder interviews to really see what it was that the community held us as, because we work with the community and for the community. And so we really wanted to see what the community believed our organization was, perceived our programming to be, and how we were working with and for them. And we learned there was a lot of goodwill in the community around us, but also there was some confusion, some opportunities for us to step into gaps that they saw in the community. So that's really, it allowed us to clear up some of that confusion, and it also allowed us to move beyond Human Services Center, which was our name, and it really kind of encapsulated where we were allowed to go, so to speak. So changing our name moved us beyond human services, and we serve all nonprofit sectors, and that's really the space where we saw our needs, the needs in the community to go, and that's what we follow.
Okay, thank you. So over many months, from the exploration phase to the public announcement of Caring Collective this past February at our collaboration celebration, many names were considered and discarded. And there was a lot of dialogue around, what the right name for us as we look to our evolution should be. Why was Caring Collective ultimately chosen, and what does Caring and Collective mean for us as we move forward?
So there were a lot of names that were chosen, everybody knows that a name doesn't give absolutely everything that you do. There isn't a way to say that, by this name, everybody now knows everything that we do and who we are and what we're striving for. But you want to try to come to some degree of clarity with your name. So, we built on the brand equity, the goodwill that was already in the community around our campus of caring. It talks and reflects back on our value of care deeply. And then it also really kind of highlights the fact that nobody does any of this work alone. We all do this work together. So, Caring Collective speaks to the fact that this is work done across the board in partnerships. Nobody does anything alone in this industry.
So as we evolved to Caring Collective, we renamed our campus of caring. For those that are not as familiar, our campus here is 5 acres, 14 buildings, houses 16 very diverse nonprofits, some represented in the room today. If you're on our campus, if you would raise your hand, that would be great. We've got a lot of folks here, and I know we have some on Zoom as well, so we're delighted that you all are here. But the Campus of Caring is certainly an important and big part of what we do. And we opted, as we evolved to Caring Collective, to rename our campus the Glasser-Schoenbaum Campus of Caring. Maybe talk a little bit about how that decision occurred. And maybe you touched on this a little bit in your initial answer, but if you want to expound at all on our founders, Dr. Kay Glasser and Betty Schoenbaum, and the Schoenbaum family, now would be a good time to do it.
So, I never had the privilege of knowing Kay, but I've heard so many stories, and I know that some people in the room have known, did know Kay, and she was just this indomitable force that got this campus built. And Betty was passionate, and so many people know Betty, knew Betty, and both of them in their way are beloved in our community, and they're beloved within our organization and our history. And so we wanted to make sure that we honored who came before us, that allowed us to continue to build on what was built and where we continue to evolve. And this campus was their joy, was their jewel. And we wanted to make sure that it was reflected in the name. And we continue to honor them and look back at what they served and who they served and how they served. And like I said in the video, I think that they would be really proud of where we are today, and where we're still going. So, because our work isn't done.
So one of the things that, we launched the Caring Collective in February, so it's been about 6 months. And of course, when you launch a new brand, you do so having some things figured out and some things that are evolving. We actively are talking to our stakeholders in the community, including funding partners and donors and all of you, just to make sure that our communication is clear. And of course, our messaging will continue to evolve over time. In fact, Charlene and I had a great meeting yesterday where we got some very good feedback that is informing some of the messaging that we're going to use going forward. And we really appreciate that constructive feedback. So our new mission has evolved from a focus on human services, connecting, supporting, and sustaining a network of human service nonprofits for a stronger community, to a broader mission, an inspirational mission of achieving better lives and livelihoods for all our neighbors, which is aspirational. So, Charlene, this is a multi-part question. With the first part, so we provide direct services to nonprofits. What is Caring Collective's role or part in helping to achieve better lives and livelihoods for all our neighbors? And why did we land on that mission?
We landed on that mission because we really wanted to focus back on who we all serve. Our direct services are to our nonprofit partners, are to the community, but we really wanted to focus back on who we all serve, and that is the members in the community and the effect that we can all have on those. And so, our role in that is, how we deliver our programs, breaking down those barriers to make it easier for nonprofits to operate, bringing change makers together to collaborate. And so we work within our partnerships, within our systems to have that ripple effect, so to speak, of the work that we do. And it just continues on through the individuals that we work with and, to their organizations and to the people that they serve.
And so I think one of the questions that we've gotten, which has sort of informed our communication, is, well, human services isn't in your mission statement anymore. It's not in your name anymore. Are you still committed to human services? Are you still committed to all of the programs that you've always done? Are you giving those the heap ho and doing something different? So what does our evolution mean for all of our programs and services and partnerships that we currently had before we made the name change? And what does that mean for our continuing role in our work with the human services sector?
So no heaving. We will always continue with programming that is centered around human services. This campus is not going to change in that regard. It is human services focused. It will always be human services focused. That I can say for I always hate to make those definitive statements, always and never and not. But this one, I'm pretty confident we are not changing what the focus is of this campus. So all of our work in human services is going to stay the same. We just broaden who our clients are to actual sectors outside of the human services nonprofits, because at the end of the day, in all honesty, I think that everybody that works in human services, I don't care if it's animals, arts, environments, we all serve people at the end of the day. So we all serve the community. So for us to step beyond that just means that we're adding to, not ending anything.
So
she paused, which means she wanted me to say something else. So I'm like, didn't say.
Actually, this time, no. 2 questions ago, maybe. So since our role within human services is not changing, we'll just do an add-on. What has changed?
So we have, over the last 2 years, launched a couple different programs. The Chief Executive Peer Circle program, the Emerging Leader program is in its 3rd year. Our Community Benefits Specialist program is in today's the end of its 1st year. So happy birthday, Mike. So, we are actively looking at gaps in the community of how we can fulfill needs in that community. And that's, and so we're adding in, and those are 3 programs that we've added in over the last two years or so. And we'll continue to adjust and evolve as the community says, this is what we need, and this is what we're looking for, and how can you help in this area? And that's what we're here for. That's what we're all here for.
So one of the things that came up a lot in the discussions about, a name and a brand evolution is the fact that 35 years ago, our region, Sarasota, Manatee, Southwest Florida certainly had certain needs. And as time has gone on, our area has grown, our region has grown, the needs have changed. We certainly face a somewhat unique economic climate now, but there have been lots of different things that have impacted our area over the past many years.
Mm-hmm.
So talk a little bit about the evolution of our name and brand that is more expansive beyond human services, and how we feel. We went ahead and did the name change and the mission change now, but what does that mean for us being well prepared to provide additional programs and services beyond human services in the future if we feel that we can make a difference?
I don't think that question was on the list, but I'm going to. So, that kind of stems back to the comment that I made that human services, arts, animals, we all serve in the same fashion. We all serve at the end of the day the same people. So when we talk about, how can we broaden our programming, and why us, and how does that make sense, and those types of things, the evolving community that we all live in, it's really just about what can we do that fits within our mission, that answers that need, and answers that call, and how can we do it. We kind of categorize, nonprofits do this, they categorize where they can slot programs that make sense within their mission statement, within the work that they do. So when we talk about bringing change makers together to collaborate, those are specifically around, like the chief executive peer circles, and those are open to all sectors of nonprofits. And it is because what one CEO of an organization of human services faces is the exact same scenario a lot of times that the arts organization. Sometimes it's around funding, sometimes it's around human resources, sometimes it's around, all of these other components that are all very similar. So, us stepping into those realms really is just acknowledging that we are all doing the same work. Right. Did I answer that? Oh, okay.
Good to meet you. Do you think, did she answer the question? Yes, everybody? Yeah, that was great. So we touched on this a little bit, but I think just to take it one step further. So as Glasser Schoenbaum, we provide services, programs, impact to nonprofits so that they can, have more financial resources, program support that allows them to accomplish their missions and provide end user, children, women, men, families with the people in need with the services at the highest value possible. So our audience are nonprofits. We did that as Glasser Schoenbaum. We're doing that now as Caring Collective, at least for the foreseeable future. Correct. Do you envision that changing, or is for now anyway, for where we are now, not saying it won't change in the future, but do you, and I think, because this is a question that comes up, I think people get a little bit confused by this. Are we going to continue to be in sort of our unique core competency will continue to be working with nonprofits to help them be the best they can be for their missions?
So I won't say, like I said before, I don't like to say always or never. So I'm not going to say, for now,
where we
are staying, working with our nonprofit partners, offering services. That doesn't mean that we don't work with clients, work with families and individuals one-on-one. We do that through our partnerships with nonprofits. We don't do that in the case of like a lot of service-oriented nonprofits for human services where they just open and have clients coming in to meet all their needs. We work through the nonprofit partners that we have, and we work directly with clients. Now, I have board members on this call, so I will not launch any new missions.
I'm sitting in the front row, but no pressure.
So I'm not going to launch any new missions at this point, but so no, we will stay with our focus of partnering with nonprofits, partnering with with the community to work in that realm, and direct services that we provide will almost all of those will be funneled through our nonprofit partners.
Okay, great. So another question that we get a lot is a desire to really understand our role and our leadership in leadership. And we have invested in a wide variety of training programs. We have a learning calendar of both opportunities for our campus to interact, as well as some things that we're going to roll out for different programs and services. We have our Emerging Leader Program, which invests in leaders of different organizations who are emerging, who are at a certain point in their career. And then we have the Chief Executive Peer Circle Program, which I know you're going to talk about. But I think just to help people understand, why is it that us as an organization, how does leadership, how does learning tie into our overall mission? You say what to that?
I say that organizations are made up of individuals. So, I mean, the real simple fact is if you provide opportunities for leaders to grow, to elevate their own understanding, their own opportunities and capabilities, that only can positively benefit their organizations, which then in turn benefits the communities, the people that they serve. So having an entity that allows and provides those opportunities is a benefit to the entire community.
Great. So one of the things that we did want to share with you at this point is this organization sits in a unique position that we do a lot. We have programs for the campus. We have partnerships in the community. We invest in learning with the goal of providing programs and services to nonprofits to help them develop skills, to help them have additional resources so they can be the best they can be for people who need us. And we did put together a very short, hopefully easy to digest little card that really just lays out why Caring Collective, why now, some information. And, similar to the meeting that we had yesterday that provided great feedback, we very much, as we're going through this process and really refining our explanation of who we are, which is so important, and particularly because we do so many things and it isn't always intuitive, we would love, love, love your feedback, not just today in terms of any questions, but as you leave here and you review this, anything that's not clear, send a question to me or to Connor, to Charlene. We very much want your feedback. So, as you're listening to our responses and so forth, we very much want to hear what you all think. So,
and this wasn't done in a vacuum.
No.
We were, talking about that before we even made any of these changes, and before we, at the very beginning when our board was just contemplating, is this something that we want to do? Is this something that we want to take on? How will that be viewed upon by the community? We did work with a boutique firm to do some key stakeholder, what do you call them things where they talk back and forth? Interviews. Interviews, yeah, conversation. Like what we're doing here. No, so they did a lot of interviews to really, and they went through funders, our supporters, our clients who we serve, and really talked to them about Glasser Schallenbaum Human Services Center. And so from the very beginning, this has all been informed by our community, because we do feel that we play a role in the community that is, that is dictated by the community. So this has not been done in a vacuum. This has been taken on, and it has taken months to do. And it, but it is, I'm always the person that says, what do you think and how could we do better? So we have gotten a lot of feedback. We have had multiple one-on-one conversations. We've gotten solicited feedback. We've got a lot of unsolicited feedback. But we take it all because all of it is very helpful to hear because, your brand is what the perception is of who you are in the community. So we want to, we're still getting it right. We're still, we're not done. So we still have work to do, but, a part of our work is listening to our partners. So that's, it's one of the reasons why you all are here today, and we appreciate that.
So one of our newer programs is the Chief Executive Peer Circles.
Mhm.
The inaugural program launched about 6 months or so before the new brand name, the brand name and, evolution was in process but hadn't been announced yet. And we launched that program last summer. And because it's our newest program and because we're going into the second annual season of the program, perhaps share a little bit about the program itself. I know for the inaugural program, we had 40 applicants. Not all went through the program, but there seemed to be a lot of interest in the program. So what would you like for people to know, Charlene, about that program, maybe lessons learned from that program, and then any coming attractions for the second annual program?
So, we had 40 applicants. And so to me, that shows that there's a need for this type of collaborative work, collaborative opportunities and learning. And we learned that in nonprofits, we all know there's a lot of evolving staff members. Sometimes it can seem that there are always new staff members at organizations. And one of the things that really showed us how critical these types of programs are, not just this one, there's programs offered by a lot of organizations in our community, is that the attrition that we saw through this program because of those high level leaders within organizations were also leaving. So it happens at all levels. And, every level has to be protected from that so that we have continuing services, continuing organizations, institutional knowledge, and that steadfast leadership. So, this program specifically, we learned a lot in this first year. People were hungry for a safe space to learn and to talk about their issues specifically, not just the general issues that are facing, that nonprofits are facing. So there were a lot of lessons learned and there was a lot of opportunities there. And we had a success. The success of that program did make the difference for us to say, okay, let's go year 2. So. Yeah.
So before we open the floor to questions, I think we're good on time, but before we open the floor to questions, Charlene, what else would you like to share about Caring Collective, about any of our programs, anything at all that would be helpful?
Other than to say that, to reiterate, everything that we do and a lot of what nonprofits do is based on our partnerships. So, forging valuable and effective partnerships is key. And, we pride ourselves on being able to do that. But we're learning about collaboration as well. Everybody has a different opinion or definition of collaboration. So it's, It's fun to work through the nuances and, really understanding what our community partners are looking for. So, we continue to grow and evolve just like every other organization. So we're really happy about the path that we're on, and we're excited about what's coming.
Well, great. Well, we really appreciate you all being here. So we are, going to take some questions. It's about 1:45. So we'll start, I think what we talked about is maybe starting in the room, if anybody has a question, and then we'll alternate between the room and Zoom. And there should be some time as well. Anna, you want to stand up? I think it's going to go first. And say your name and maybe who you're with. Who are you with? There you go.
Sorry, moving question today. Is there any discussion with your team and the board to expand your brick and mortar footprint to Northport? Or South Venice or South County, something like that?
Yeah. So, we participated in a feasibility study. What year did Ian hit? 22? So we were.
Renovations.
It was actually on my birthday.
Oh.
Yeah, I just couldn't remember the year. We were all texting, yeah, great, thanks for inviting Ian to the party, So we have been in conversations and there's been a feasibility study done about moving to Northport. Expanding brick and mortar is a multi-year conversation, and it's a commitment that we are not prepared to make at this point. So are we open to continuing conversations? Yes. Are we going to say that we're going to open up a campus in Northport? I can't say that now. Not and be back at my job tomorrow. But thank you for that. There's still interest in it. Absolutely. Katie.
Katie Becker, Executive Director of Parenting Matters. First and foremost, congratulations. I think that this rebrand has really helped articulate what you do beyond the walls that we're sitting in. So
yeah, thank you
for that. My question really comes along with our current political climate and some of the unease that many of our nonprofits are feeling around funding.
Mm-hmm.
And with your role as a convener, do you have any plans on coalescing nonprofits into a collective that would build a stronger, resilient nonprofit community as a whole?
So it's like I paid you. We talk about, this campus itself and, as a collective, and what does that really mean? And one of the things that we are talking about is how do we work together more efficiently to be a resilient community? And so one of the strategic agenda items for our organization is to do just that, is to really pull together, starting with the ones that are actually co-located, and see how we can work together to create that hub since we're already here. And what does that look like beyond our campus, and how can we make that stretch beyond our campus? So yes, that is the conversation at the board and one of our strategic items. Thank you.
Go ahead. And why don't you stand and say your name?
I'm CJ Paulus. I'm with Help Me Start Coalition. I just started at the end of April. But my question was can you describe any methods or tools that you have in place to promote collaboration between the nonprofits on the campus?
Yeah. So, for part of our learning calendar, we did a lot of connection programs that were centered around bringing organizations together. In order to work collaboratively like that, there needs to be trust built, and there needs to be opportunities to build that trust. So we have to bring nonprofits together first before we can just say, hey, collaborate. So, that's a cycle that never goes away. So we will continue to focus on opportunities to build those connections so that, you just started in April. Welcome to the campus. How many people know you now on campus? There's probably hasn't been a lot of opportunities for you to connect. So we really need to bring people together in order to start the process of building trust that opens the door to collaboration, because people aren't going to do it if they don't know and trust their partners. So yes, thank you.
We actually have one from Zoom, so I can insert in here for the.
We'll get him out.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. So we have Susan Bergstrom with the Literacy Council of Sarasota.
And
Yes, she is there. And she asked, are there any plans to expand/enlarge the current campus?
yeah, we are, the current campus is pretty landlocked. We have looked at opportunities of pursuing some land directly around us, so that we can, enlarge our campus. We've also are interested in conversations around how do we enhance what's already here, the building's already here, and build on the land that we already have. Our campus is made up of 14 individual buildings spread across 5 acres. So that's a lot of footprint that's not used for leased space. And is there an opportunity here to evolve what we have already in place? That's a deep conversation, because we talk about, well, what happens to the nonprofits that are currently in the buildings? I can't build around them. If we're changing the buildings that we have, we can't build around them. So what does that look like? So yes, Susan, there's conversation around building here. We've looked at the shell lot. For anybody that's not on the campus, that's the colloquial term that we have where those sheds are, the shell lot. Possibly gaining some of the lots that are vacant over there from their current owner, and putting in another building. So there's several avenues that we have explored and are still exploring. So yes, thank you.
You have a question?
Yes, Charles Walker, Jewish Family and Children's Services. As I mentioned, I also commend you for taking a pause. A lot of times as organizations, we don't do that, kind of reflect on where we are, where we need to go in context of, what's going on in our community. So again, I applaud you and the board for doing that and for sharing it with us.
Thank you.
So there is definitely a need, and you've identified that, in nonprofit organizations and just organizations in general in the community to collaborate, collectively, creating space for that, creating opportunities for that. Have you found that there's like a sweet spot, if you will, in the community for collaboration around maybe a particular issue? I know that there's a lot of data about where we are and challenges that we're having in our community. Do you have goals or metric in place to say that we're trying to create more collaboratives and we're counting those and looking at the impact that's having on our community and key issues in the community?
Yeah, no. So we have not gotten that far. There is a sweet spot, but the sweet spot changes every time there's leadership changes, every time that there are, team members that change that play a integral cog in that wheel. So have we done enough in that arena? No. There's still room for us to do more. And, we acknowledge that and we understand that takes time, and we're still moving forward in that. There has been some great work done in our community around collaboratives. I know that there's an environmental collaborative that is off the ground and running, and they're having a lot of success. I know the Family Safety Alliance has, a great collaborative of nonprofit workers around, child and family well-being. So there is a lot of work being done in the community in that realm. Do we have any metrics and data? No. And this is the part where, it's the anecdotal data. We all know that this is what works. Have we put anything in place to measure it? We have not.
Just a simple follow-up. You named two. I mean, the fact that an organization is out actually counting the number of collaboratives and what they're about, and essentially what the impact is of that collaborative. But also because of this rebranding, how many new collaboratives have you helped to foster and start because of the leadership, the CEOs in these meetings are talking.
Yeah.
Eventually, they're just like, I get a lot. And thank you, Connor, for organizing these. And I connected a lot of people in this room. I met with Anna last week. And so we're talking about creating a partnership, but
Right.
that's something that came from.
Well, exactly.
And so quantifying that, I think, shows a different level
Yeah.
of value that you're adding to community, and it's right in line with the current mission.
And it's those organic opportunities that really allow things to blossom. You know, we can bring opportunities to the table, and we can bring people together. And then it is about, you know, building on those relationships and having the conversations and continuing those meetings, and then fostering, you know, an idea around a new program, or a shared grant, or opportunities to serve your client in a different way that you didn't think about before. But all of those start because of those organic opportunities to meet, and then it just has to evolve from there. But we wouldn't have known about that unless you had shared it.
Lou Murray, one of our.
Lou!
Yes. Thank you, Lou. He asked.
Hello.
Lou asked, are there any plans to work with corporate foundation who are now funding nonprofits that affect their bottom line, i.e. healthcare foundation?
So, you know, the remarkable thing that we were able to do over a year ago, is put in place a chief development and marketing officer. So yes, Lou, Karen is doing all the work to expand our grant pool, so to speak. And healthcare foundations are actively on the list. And I know you're a huge advocate for that, and we do appreciate that. But Lana.
I just had a question, is there somebody in building N, or are there plans to bring someone into this?
Yeah, so building in, we were able to, so St. Vincent de Paul Cares was in 2 buildings on our campus, and they were already at capacity even in those 2 buildings, and they were beyond capacity. They were able to move into building in. So they will have that larger space, which allows them to hire more team members and serve more of their clients. And so we are bringing on 2 other organizations onto our campus. We'll have new organizations coming in. One of them I can say, because we do have a signed lease, and that's truly valued. So we're very happy to welcome them on board as of, well, tomorrow actually is when they're coming in. They're kind of moving in now. Anyway, and then we have another organization that we're talking to about leasing that other space. It's rare that we have openings here on campus. And, you know, when we do, it's not just a, you know, hey, who do you know? It's what gaps and services do we have right here in our little hub? Do we see that we can, you know, help fill by bringing in a partner that has those services in place? So, yeah, thank you. Thank you for that. Hi. Yeah, Declan.
Thanks.
Hi, Declan.
Patton G, Senior Friendship Centers, officer. So talk a little about like the name change.
Yeah.
So what are like 2 or 3, and I don't mean to put you on the spot, but over the next 12 months, like 2 or 3 big ideas or big visions that you see accomplished with that name?
So one of them harkens back to what Katie was talking about, is the collaborative, the hub, you know, really making use of the fact that we have a captive audience, so to speak, of 16, 17 agencies here on campus. And how do we bring that about? That, you know, it's going to take a lot of work. So that's our very next kind of like idea on the agenda of how do we do that? What does that look like? And how do we create the atmosphere that they want to participate in? Because, you know, wanting to participate and having that buy-in is critical for it to be successful. So that's the big one coming. I can't name a second one.
Okay, well, that's good, because that was right. The follow-up questions are the right answer. Let's figure out how we can do that together.
Yeah, no, I'd love it.
Because we're on it.
Yeah, no, I love it. And Senior Friendship Centers we've been partnering with them for a long time. So we really appreciate that. Perfect.
Have anybody in Zoom? We probably have time for
And
maybe
then-
2 more questions.
Yeah, and then Anna's got one last one.
Good in Zoom?
Go ahead.
So this caring collective is a pretty unique concept. Are there others that exist in the country, and do you tap and pick their brains and the lessons learned, do's and don'ts? And does that include leveraging for-profit partnerships to strengthen nonprofits?
Yeah, so we are a part of a professional organization called Community Spaces Network. And they have these types of, the members are our types of organizations all across US and Canada and even in Mexico. And we all look differently. You've seen one nonprofit center, you've seen one nonprofit center. So we are all have wisdom to share and lessons learned. And I actually lead the Southeast region, which is Florida, Georgia, Alabama, North Carolina, Kentucky, all this area on a quarterly call. And that's what we do. We sit around and we're like, lessons learned, what's the topic for this quarter, and how can we, just like in the chief executive peer circles, how do we leverage what somebody else has already done and what lessons they've learned, and how do we grow from that? So yes, we are a part of it. What was the second part?
No, I just, if others in the country have maybe brought in business partnerships or for-profit partnerships to then strengthen.
Yeah.
Almost like chambers do, but.
Yeah.
Have they?
Yeah, yes. Yeah, and some of them have done it really well, and some of them have, they're still building that program and still leveraging, what others learned and what mistakes to avoid. So there is definite pros and cons to that type of partnership, but our for-profit, our business community has to be integral to nonprofits, because we all serve the same individuals at the end of the day. So absolutely.
Well, we've come up to 1:00. So we really appreciate you all being here. Thank you, Charlene.
Yeah, thank you all.